Welcome to Homebrew Wednesday number 1, take 4. Just going to give you a quick rundown of the 4 systems I've used so far and how I got to the system that I'm going to use for my 5th batch. If you want to know kind of how I got to here, I also posted a welcome video on my channel. My name is Mark, I'm using beer. My first batch was a kit, specialty grains, adjuncts, dry malt extract, liquid malt extract. Went okay, was drinkable, palatable. We finished all of it. A lot of problems with that batch. Probably the biggest problem was my fermentation temperatures. The room that I was fermenting in had been staying very stable. I'd been keeping an eye on it before I brewed. And then after I started fermenting, a few days into that, the temperature changed here and my furnace started kicking in more often, and that room got too hot, significantly too hot. I got a lot of the acetyls in that batch that were just about settled out by the time it was gone. The last bottle tasted pretty good. I also didn't have the right mark on my fermentation bucket. It was my fermentation bucket from mead from 15 years ago. I thought I knew what the line was. The line was not 5 gallons, it was 6. I had my, where it was way over diluted before I ever took a specific gravity. I then took a gallon of worth out, added in some boiled DME to bring the specific gravity up, taking out 20% for about of my hops and my adjuncts. So hard to judge that kit based on that episode. Plus, in my fanatic sanitization, which is important, I was paying too much attention to that, not enough attention to the fact that my first 6 bottles got into the bottle and I hadn't put the sugar in, the priming sugar into the bottling bucket. I was on about the 6th bottle and I looked over and went, oh, this isn't good. Put it all back, started over, oxidized that beer as well because of that, because that wasn't a very quiet transfer after I dumped them back in, added the sugar, and rebottled them. All in all, we drank that beer. Second beer, which was going to be another kit, I threw that right out the window, got Beersmith 2, made my own recipe, wanted to make a stout. I'm pretty happy with how the stout came out. Most people are probably going to find it pretty sweet. It ended up being a sweet oatmeal stout. I guess it's a milk stout. I did add lactose at bottling. Just didn't quite account for just how long it was going to take a stout to really be ready in the bottle. So batch 3, different system. I decided to go with brew in a bag. I'd been watching a lot of videos. Brewing TV was probably the video that really made me say, hey, I think I can do this with the equipment I have. I just got to buy the bag. I can do brew in a bag. Was very happy with my brew in the bag. Was just 3 pounds of 2-row, 2 pounds of Crystal 40, Cascade Bittering, Fuggles Aroma, USO 5. Came out great. The temperatures were still fluctuating a fair amount in both batch 2 and 3, where I was fermenting my beer there as well. Not outside the range of the yeast, at least on the high end, occasionally dipping below on the low end, but still a big enough range that I was putting a lot of stress on the yeast. And so thus I have the fridge, and we're going to, as soon as the part gets here to make the controller for this, we're going to take control of fermentation temperature, which is an important part of the deal, obviously. And so hopefully I'll make a video when I make that controller. I just bought the STC 1000, an aquarium actually, temperature controller unit, and then you do a little wiring and put the plugs in there. It's not too bad. Once again, YouTube, I've watched the videos a couple of times. It shouldn't be too bad. We'll do that. And so then we'll switch over and do some stuff. That brew in a bag, I'm going to repeat. That's the first one I'm definitely going to repeat. I really like it. I'm first going to just change it to a 5-gallon batch of Beersmith. I'm going to change my volume and do it as an all-grain 5-gallon batch. Ferment it, low 6, mid 60s, whatever USO 5 bottom end is, in the fridge, and hope that and see where it comes out. Then I also want to try it as a lager. And so if anybody has a good idea of what to use to replace my USO 5 as a lager yeast to get a comparable result, put it in the comments. I would love that, and I'd appreciate it. And so that was that batch. Now, that batch was really good. It also went really fast because it was good enough that I had some people try it. I was passing it around to the people that I go to deer camp with. And, I have 6 or 7 months before I got to have this stuff ready, but I was thinking, this is one I'd like to take there. I need to make sure who all is going to drink it and how much of it I need. A lot more than 3 gallons would be the answer to that question. But it was going fast. So then I came into this set of equipment. My brother-in-law found a listing on Craigslist for, not to be confused with Craig Tube, which is an awesome beer resource. Craigslist is a great place to buy stuff. And it's about 2.5 hours away. But I have family there, and this guy was selling off all of his stuff. He had 2 kits. He had a bottling bucket. He had a fermentation bucket with a lid, an extra airlock, another spoon, another racking cane, some tubing, a brush, a bottle drying rack. He wanted $20. I called my cousin and said, go to his house, give him the $20, take his stuff. She did. I went and got it from her. Maybe where I got the wine piece as well, which was something I was definitely looking to have. But so the 2 kits that came with that, one was like a Cooper's kit. It probably was Cooper's. It was, hopped extract and yeast. That was pretty much the entire kit. The other one was a Brewer's Best kit. And it was, I don't know exactly how old, but I know that when I opened the hops and they were dry and they didn't really smell very, very fresh, didn't have much smell at all. I just chucked the hops. I should have chucked the yeast all together. I'll tell you what I did with the yeast. I'm not sure. It was a bad idea. It was an experiment. I don't know that it hurt anything, but it truly makes it hard to sort out that recipe later. But I called it mishmash just because of that. I knew it wasn't something that I'd be able to repeat, especially since who knew how much hop character I was going to get from a hopped extract that was, at least a year old, and who knows exactly how old. And then the liquid malt extract. Dry malt extract was probably fine. The specialty grains still smelled nice. They were pre-crushed. I added a little bit of barley and a little bit of oats, and I didn't even put that in Beersmith, so I really don't even know exactly what it was. That's why batch 4 was a little different yet. But now by batch 4, I had a different pot I was using. I'll explain how I got to that pot in a minute, maybe, if we get to that. But basically, so I did that batch, and I added whole leaf Centennial or whole leaf Cascade to it. The whole leaf hops grown locally, amazing. I will definitely be using that again. I kind of wish I hadn't done it on this particular batch. It ended up being a very high gravity beer. At the end, it was a 7.1 alcohol. It's got a lot of hops in it. Beersmith called it an IPA by the numbers, but like I said, Beersmith didn't have all the numbers. It's got some oats and some barley in there that it was unaware of. Although it does make a pretty good black and tan if you take my stout that's not quite ready and my IPA that's not really an IPA, they blend really well in a glass. But so that was batch 4. Batch 4, between batch 4 and batch 5, the new one, I went to my second homebrewers meeting, which was on May 5th, and it was Big Brew Saturday or Big Brew Day, Homebrew Day, and I watched 2 different people do all grains. All grains seemed a little scary at the onset, and looking at all this stuff and watching some of the people online with some really nifty systems and some expensive systems and 3 16-gallon kegs with, and they got a welder and cut the tops out of them and insulated one. Well, first of all, I can't even find a keg around here. They just not showing up. But regardless, both of these people had my system plus a cooler. They both did basically batch sparging. The one did a little bit of fly, a little bit of batch, kind of his own mix. And with the batch sparging, it really wasn't that much more equipment than I had. It was a little more time, obviously, because of the time for the mash as opposed to the time for a steep. But you get so much more control over it. Plus, I tried their beers, a fair number of their beers at this brew day, and they were phenomenal. And so I know that they do the job. And so when I do batch 5, we'll do a video of that. And I got a cooler, I got my my housing in the bottom of it, and I'll be moving to all grain for batch 5. That's it for Homebrew Wednesday number 1. Everybody have a great day. Cheers, 17.